The enemy isn't out there, it is within. Welcome back, mere mortalites, to another edition of the Mere Mortals book reviews. You've got one here, and I'm going to be reviewing Snakehead by Anthony Horowitz. Alex Rider bites back. This is the seventh in the explosive Alex Rider series, as stated there by Anthony Horowitz. Yes, I've been reading plenty of Anthony Horowitz. Alex Rider is a youth fiction book, started all the way back in the early 2000s. And funnily enough, he's continued to write about Alex Rider, all the series, all the way through to 2019, I believe. So I've recently obtained the very latest books that I've never read. These are books that I have read. So I've been wanting to go through the entire series, pull out the good stuff, the philosophies, the entertaining things, and then kind of describing a little bit of each book, just in case you're interested in that as well. Snakehead is an interesting one. It starts pretty interestingly off the back of the previous book from Archangel of Alex basically landing from outer space. It has all these interesting little details of him arriving, getting out of the water. It's in Australia, so it's obviously local to me. I remember reading this particular book, and at the very beginning, he gets to meet the SAS, and they've got to test him out. And again, kind of reflecting back, I either go, this was around the time that I myself was looking into content around the commandos or the SASR or similar things. And this was just like building on top of probably the reasons why I trained the way I train, or wanted to do the things I wanted to do. Regardless, fantastic little start from this particular Alex Rider book. Then Snakehead, newsflash, it's in relation to this big criminal organization, Scorpia / the Snakeheads, who operate in Southeast Asia. Alex goes through this story of going out and trying to infiltrate the Snakehead, around how they are carrying humans from Southeast Asia into Australia. They don't really tell him this, but I'll tell you this. He's also in the lookout for a bomb as well. Newsflash, he does find it on a particular boat. And again, this particular story goes from Australia into Bangkok, a lot of Southeast Asia. And one of probably the key pieces to call out of all the previous books, Alex Rider's a London kid from Chelsea, and you would have seen from most of the books he starts going to like different countries. I don't know if Anthony Horowitz, planned that in particular to kind of demonstrate him going around the world at large, but whatever the case it might have been, interesting. I loved it. I like the different concepts. Anthony Horowitz does a good job as well in all of these books of just describing more and more to enough detail for youth, right, for a kid, on what places are like. Now, some of the places here in the book, Australia, Sydney, Bangkok, a few different places I've been to before, and I can kind of get the general gist of what he's sort of describing in the book by that, and I like it. It's pretty like true to form, but it's not, overwhelmingly. Of course, it's his type of book, but it's great. It just makes it as an easy action-packed read. Once again, the chapters don't change. There's lots of, active information that happens. But as has been a trend since the Scorpia book, there's a lot of deeper, darker, grittier storylines that come out. In this particular book, you're introduced to an individual called Ash, because again, you've heard about Alex Rider, and through all the books, he doesn't actually want to be a spy, but what makes him go on the journey of this particular Snakehead and infiltrating and doing all the various things? Well, it's because his godfather is actually part of the Australian not special forces, but the Australian intelligence service, and he wants to find out about his parents. I won't give away what happens at the end, but the enemy is within the Immortalites. So that's the Snakehead book in general. The philosophy that I actually pulled out for him was reality is messy. Reality is fucking messy, folks. Moral clarity often comes after the actual choice. And in here, I'm referring to Ash, the individual. Again, I won't call out what he did wrong. Wink, 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 wink. However, the reality is messy, and the reason why this individual, Ash, went and performed certain things was, you get to find out towards the tail end of the story, because of, again, other reasons, which, take it from his particular angle, maybe it was reasonable, right? If you look at it from Alex Rider's perspective, no, it isn't reasonable. God damn it, he's the bad guy. But he's not actually painted as the bad guy. Yes, at the very end, Alex kind of goes, I don't want to hear or know about this person ever again. But at the tail end, like the crescendo of the book, when all of this kind of gets unraveled and discovered, you actually don't feel like he's a true enemy. You end up finding a little bit of sadness for him, even though of all the various things that he caused in Alex Rider's life. The messy is, sorry, life is messy. That's the reality. And sometimes, like the choices, you can only make the moral decision, the moral statement of it, the actual moral clarity might come after the actor's actual decision. I can easily recall many times in my life in the past where that moral clarity, at least in my view, was only clear after the decision, and there might have been no real way for me to see unless I maybe interrogated from different angles or having known it from wisdom that the choice that I was about to make was going to be the best bet that I could have. And often we don't know, right? Life is messy. One aspect that I'd call out, it's maybe as a bit of an interest, is that in the Snakehead, again, right at the beginning, Alex is with the special forces or the commander. I think it's supposed to be the SAS in particular, the SARS. And reflecting back on some of my choices in life, I remember a time when I was younger where I was like, I'm gonna go into these bloody things. I want to be doing the type of commando and military type of training and potentially going into a job path in that front. I think it was more along the lines of I like training and I like the more extreme versions of what they brought, as opposed to really wanting to be in active service. That's just what it was. Um, but the choice there, right? Whether you at home might be sitting and going, is war and fighting and that aspect of life a good thing, a necessary thing? Is it a bad thing? Would you say it's morally great or morally not? My choice at the time wasn't so much that I made it directly like an effortful, this is the choice I'm going to make. It was more other doors opened up for me. I went down those paths. I didn't go down the path of military service or anything else, even though there was a second time in my life that popped up and I went down the path of interviews and positionings, but again, didn't go through it. And I often think, not directly as a moral choice, but life is messy, right? And often what you think you want to do doesn't end up being the case. And I reflect back, and I could reflect back and go, well, what could have happened if I did that? But the complexity of life is such that it probably doesn't even bear to really think about it. Given how messy it's going to be, you only get to take the options that are in front of you or the ones that you create, and that can be that, right? In this particular book, Life Being Messy, just as Godfather, right? Alex's Godfather, it was messy. It was his whole life has been messy. There's been messiness with his parents and with MI6 who've been bringing him in. It's no surprise that life was going to continue to be messy for this 14-year-old who is being a spy, and all of a sudden, I think in later books, kind of be called out as almost the most prolific or best agent that they've seen in a while. Life's going to be goddamn messy, but makes for a good book. Makes for a good book. So that has been Snakehead by Anthony Horowitz, the 7th book. I'll leave it there for now. More lights. I hope you are well. One.